If you want to learn how to create incredible animations of your logos in After Effects, it all starts with prepping your Illustrator file the right way. And today I'm going to walk you through every single step, plus show you a brand new 2026 Illustrator bug that can completely break your import into After Effects if you don't catch it. Seriously, this one can ruin an entire project. So stick around, you don't want to miss this. And if you are new here, my name is Erin, a formerly self-taught designer turned university professor with 10 years of experience working with clients. All right, so I have my logo open in Illustrator, and for the first step, I like to make sure that my artboard matches the size of my After Effects composition. Most of the time, I'm working with 1920 by 1080 files, so go ahead and grab your artboard tool, and under Properties, you can change the width and the height to whatever you need. I'm also going to select my logo and open my Align panel to align it right to the center of my artboard. Keeping the size and composition consistent between your After Effects and Illustrator files means that everything will import to scale. Now we need every part of your logo that you plan to animate on its own individual layer. So I'm going to open up my Layers panel. Right now, I have one layer, and inside that layer is my group. My logo is grouped together. So I'm going to right-click and ungroup it. And I want each object on its own separate layer. So that way, when I import it to After Effects, they'll be their own separate components, and I can animate each piece individually. I usually plan my animation ahead of time, so I know which elements should stay grouped and which ones need to be broken apart. To easily separate each component onto its own layer, click here to select all the objects, click the hamburger menu, and select Release to Layers Sequence. Now select all of the layers and simply click and drag them, so now each element is on its own separate layer. You can delete this top layer because now it's empty. And now go ahead and order and rename the layers how you want them in After Effects. If you want to add a background color to your composition, do not use Adobe's new 2026 Artboard Fill update. If you grab your Artboard tool and go into Properties, there is a new feature that will allow you to add a fill color to your artboard. I would not recommend doing this, and I would leave the fill color set to the default transparent. Every single time I've tested an import with this, only half of my Illustrator file will import into After Effects. It's completely unpredictable and can wreck your setup in seconds. So if you need to add a background color, you can either add it by grabbing the shape tool and adding a shape as another layer, or you can just do it directly in After Effects, which is what I would recommend. And hey, if you're watching this sometime after 2026, maybe Adobe has finally fixed this bug, but for now, I would just avoid that feature. Now go ahead and go to File, Save As, and save this to whatever folder you're storing your project assets in. I'm saving mine to my desktop for this tutorial. You're going to want to make sure you save it as an Adobe Illustrator AI file. You can also import EPS files into After Effects. My preferred method is the default AI. Once you hit save, this pop-up window will appear, and make sure that Create PDF Compatible File is checked, and then hit OK. Now that our file is saved and set up, I'll show you how to import this into After Effects so you can animate it. If you're still enjoying this tutorial, help a girl out and give this video a thumbs up. Alright, so once you're in After Effects, go ahead and create a new composition. These settings are completely up to your unique project. The size I'm using is 1920 by 1080, the same size as my Illustrator project, so that everything imports to scale. Then in your project panel, double click. Now select the file you want to import, but before you hit open, make sure you change Import As from Footage to Composition, retain layer size. Go ahead and hit open, and now this brings in your Illustrator file both as a composition and in a folder. So ignore the folder, and we're going to work with the composition. You can either double click on this composition from here to open it, or drag it to your current composition and open it in here by double clicking. Personally, I like having a comp within a comp because if I end up adding raster effects, I want them in a separate composition for exporting purposes, but do what works best for your workflow. If you were to go back to your Illustrator file to change something, let's say you're going to change the color of this G from purple to white, you can go ahead and hit Command Save in the Illustrator file, and then go back to After Effects and watch it update in real time. I wouldn't recommend changing anything after you've already started animating, especially changing the shape or size of an object could be problematic, but this is a great tip for making adjustments prior to animating. If you're happy with how everything imported, go ahead and select all of your Illustrator layers, right-click on them, and go to Create Shapes from Vector Layer. The new shape layers you made are automatically selected, so go ahead and grab one and click and drag to move them all to the top of the Layers panel. Once you do this, if you were to go back to Illustrator and make any changes, these shape layers that you just created will not be affected by the changes you make. The layers below it, however, with the little Adobe Illustrator icon next to them, will still be updated. So why do we want to convert Illustrator layers into shape layers? Well, converting them to shapes will significantly reduce the project file size in After Effects. And if you get to a level where you're working with a lot of different components, you can have a ton of layers here, and you don't want to slow your software down. So I like to work strictly with shapes, and once I've converted them, I actually delete these Illustrator layers. And you can also delete the folder up here to reduce your file size. Even without the Adobe Illustrator link, you can still select an individual object and change the color and the shape and other settings with the tools available in the Options panel up here. Another thing to keep in mind, once you convert your Adobe Illustrator layers to shapes, if you have any raster effects such as drop shadows, blend modes, transparencies, or even gradients, you will lose those. So if you have layers with raster effects, I would not recommend converting them. Personally, all of my work is flat vectors, so that's not a problem that I run into often. Once you have your layers set up the way you want and you want to add a background color in without dealing with that bug that I showed you in Adobe Illustrator, you can right-click on the empty part of your layers panel, click New and Solid, and you can name this layer background, hit OK, move it all the way down so it'll be your background color, and then under Effects and Presets, search for Fill, and click and drag your fill into your background layer here. Now your Effect Control panel brings up your controls, and it automatically assigned it a color red. You can go ahead and double click that and assign it whatever color you would like. Okay, I have one final important trick to show you. But before we wrap up, if you found this video helpful so far, please hit that subscribe button. It helps me to make more free educational content every week. All right, the last thing I'm going to show you is your libraries. So up here you have your libraries panel, so go ahead and open that. Under my libraries, I have a bunch of different folders that I've created for different brands that I work with. So I'm just going to open one of them, and these are all illustrations and logos and color palettes that I've created in Adobe Illustrator. But Illustrator and After Effects work so well together that all you have to do is pull out some icons or illustrations from your libraries to quickly use them across programs. Once you pull an object out from your libraries, you're going to see it appear in your Layers panel as an Adobe Illustrator artwork. You can, again, create that to a shape if you want. And if you go back to Illustrator, I'll show you how you can add objects into your libraries. Go ahead and open your libraries, and I'm just going to click and drag an object and bring it right into my libraries. You can put it in any folder you want. I already have pre-made folders, and just drop it in. It's going to take a moment to load, but once it loads, you can go back to After Effects, and you'll see it loading here as well. And there it is. There is your artwork. All right, that is how you properly prep your logo in Adobe Illustrator and import it into After Effects. Thank you so much for watching. I don't make a ton of After Effects tutorials, but if you'd like me to show you more After Effects, let me know in the comments. I'd also love it if you could subscribe to this channel. I make free educational content every week.